We are seeing the violence start now. This time it was a brawl. This time it was only a brawl, but it's on a path of escalation, and I don't think that that's realistically going to pause at this point. You don't have a right to protest, and the Nazis do have a right to infringe on your civil liberties to gather and to speech. If you've been following my channel for the past year, we have been covering news related to the right-wing uprising that we're having, where it kind of seems like we're trending toward a sort of, you know, maybe you could call it like a fascist takeover. You could call it maybe like a bit of a genocide against trans people, and that we are being the scapegoat for a fascist takeover of our country and like a usurpation of the democratic process. We've been talking about it extensively for the past year. Toss a coin to your streamer if you appreciate having the laws broken down for you like this. We are covering today a school board meeting. And now you think, why? Why are you covering school board meetings? Okay, usually these are pretty low-key events. It's not like the hip, popping, local government thing that everybody wants to get involved in, right? But some people got really interested in what was going on at this particular school board meeting in Glendale, California. They were having a school board meeting about acknowledging Pride Month. Like, how are we going to acknowledge Pride Month as a school district? Frankly, why were they having this discussion? It's the summertime. These kids are at home, are they not? Like, anyway, but they were having a meeting about this. There have been events like this all across the country, drag events in particular, pride events as those are starting to happen, where, you know, right-wing agitators are showing up and they're causing problems and showing up with their guns and trying to intimidate people and prevent them from exercising their right to assemble and speech, which is actually, if you didn't know, infringing upon someone else's right to exert their civil rights is not permissible under U.S. Code 1985, quote, conspiracy to interfere with civil rights. It didn't pass in 1985, to be clear. It's just U.S. Code 1985. It was, I believe, instituted because the KKK just showing up at places, like, it constitutes like a fear-mongering sort of terrorism where you're saying, hey, if, you know, these black people are trying to get together, and so we're going to come up here with our hats and just kind of stand around and menace them and make sure that they know that they're not welcome. That's conspiracy to interfere with civil rights, and it's not legal under U.S. Code 1985. However, it's still happening all across this country, and the police are standing by. The Proud Boys are showing up at these places with guns. Many other militia groups that are even more explicitly right-wing and Nazi adjacent have started. We have an entire playlist called Stochastic Terrorism. Check it out if you haven't already. So this time, just a school board meeting, and a bunch of anti-queer protesters showed up, and a bunch of pro-queer people showed up to support, and violence broke out. I've been saying for months that this was going to happen, that this was going to break out into basically a civil war situation, because you have right-wingers showing up with their guns, and then you have local John Brown gun clubs being basically hired as private security for drag events, like protecting drag events. And yeah, we've seen that going on for a while, and I've been predicting for a long time that this is going to become violent, and here we finally are. I don't believe that there's any sound on this video, actually. So here we have, I believe these people with the white shirts with the big black text on them, those are folks who bought their shirts from Andy No? I don't remember how to pronounce it. But the police are not doing a very good job of breaking this up. And normally, I'm not really hoping for the police to do more violence on people. Wow, that guy just came over and kicked that dude. I'm generally not hugely in favor of the police doing more violence on people, but I am saying that we got to see fully on display the ruthlessness with which police will put down violence breaking out at protests. Even to the extent that they will begin the violence at protests numerous times in 2020. We saw it happen. But yeah, here we have just a brawl breaking out. We got people with signs that say protect trans kids. I don't know that it's fully clear yet who started what based on what camera angles we have available to us, but it is clear that there was violence and that the police did not really help very much. We can confirm that Proud Boy member Luis Mario Flores was present in this video. Yeah, we have Proud Boy members explicitly, folks who are members of these groups trying to agitate at these places, and they're succeeding. Far-right extremists are trying to make this about the Armenian community despite the presence of violent Proud Boys and White Lives Matter people. The police have removed pro-LGBTQ demonstrators but allowed far-right extremists to remain outside of the school board meeting. Police are telling the pro-LGBT side they have to leave the property. Glendale Police Department confirmed with me the other side is allowed to remain. Oh, interesting. Interesting how that works. Oh, huh, weird. I wonder if it's because any of the people in that crowd are just off-duty cops. What a weird concept. Gays Against Groomers celebrating the violence committed by these far-right extremists. Luis Mario Flores, who is the Proud Boy participant we mentioned earlier, has been present at multiple Gays Against Groomers sponsored protests. New video from last night in Glendale shows far-right extremists pepper spraying a religious clergy member who's there in support of LGBTQ families. This clergyman right here just got pepper sprayed, holding a little rainbow flag. Good that there are people there to help, but yeah, I mean, this is the situation. That guy wasn't doing anything to harm anyone, but he's been pepper sprayed in the face. Just walked up to try to help support and ended up getting pepper sprayed in the face. Alejandra also says liberals need to understand that the police have been infiltrated by these same far-right groups and regularly coordinate with them. They are not there to keep the peace, but to protect the extremists. We saw that on video just now. This is not hypothetical. This is not hypothetical. We just watched it happen. Unredacted FBI document sheds new light on white supremacist infiltration of law enforcement. This article was published in 2020. A 2006 intelligence assessment reveals that officials had concerns about the infiltration of police departments for years, but failed to warn the public. Suris did a video earlier that shows specifically that the cops go after the LGBTQ rights protesters and not the other ones. If they let the right-wingers remain, then they are biased. Of course, yeah, they literally are there to protect the far-right extremists. So this is what you gotta keep in mind as we move forward here. If you're interested in reading more about this, hidden in plain sight, racism, white supremacy, and far-right militancy in law enforcement. Summary, the government's response to known connections of law enforcement officers to violent, racist, and militant groups has been strikingly insufficient. Our entire police system across the country has been infiltrated and dominated and co-opted by white supremacists. So, yes, when we have pride, if we have pride and the cops are there allegedly to keep the peace, when right-wingers come up and start drumming up violence, they are going to protect the violent white supremacist agitators because that's their friends. Those are the people who they hang out with. Those are their buddies that they go get a beer with. They are not only standing by, they explicitly and tacitly endorse this violence happening. And we've been seeing this across the country. Again, I have my stochastic terrorism playlist. We've talked about this multiple times. Proud Boys show up, menace people with guns, and the police maybe will show up, and then, there was one instance where the police were just we're just gonna sit in our cars, because, it's just not necessary. We're not gonna come out there maybe we could spare one police officer, but he may or may not be able to come because we're understaffed right now, It's always been that way because police started as slave catchers. Of course, they are enforcers of, all the unjust laws that our gerrymandered system produces. We saw how police will roll out tanks when minorities protest for rights, but for the violent fascists, oh gosh, whoopsie, we couldn't stop them from attacking you relentlessly multiple times in plain sight. Teehee. It's not gonna get better under the current system. I hate to be the one who keeps harping on that, but yeah, we need something big to change. Defund the police is not good enough. I know that folks get real scared. How will we defend our communities? What are we gonna do when there's a robbery? Anything else. Literally anything else. It does not matter what it is at this point. Literally anything else. Get rid of this. I don't even care if you have a transitionary system in place. Get rid of the cops. Get rid of them. Immediately. Defund is not good enough. We need to abolish. It's not gonna be the purge. Do you honestly think it's gonna be the purge if we just don't have any police officers? Oh no, if there's no police officers, who are you gonna call to show up an hour after your car is stolen to shrug their shoulders and tell you there's nothing they can do about it? Oh my God, what's gonna happen in our communities if a battered woman calls the police and the police talk to her husband and pats him on the back and doesn't even bring him in for questioning? Oh no, oh no. What are we gonna do if we don't have someone to show up to our suicidal friend's house and shoot them to death before they have the opportunity to do it themselves? Oh no, what are we gonna do without that? Not literally anything else, because stand your ground as a standard would be bad, but close to anything. I don't know what people even mean by stand your ground. It means different things in different places. Like, do you have a duty to retreat? I don't know that I believe that. Like, if a transphobe comes at me and starts brandishing a weapon at me, do I have a duty to retreat? No, I think I can shoot them, and that would be the correct and appropriate response to have. Like, I don't know. I'm so tired of being in a position where we are expected to be the bigger person, and, you know, we shouldn't use the tactics that they're using, but fuck that. I'm so sick of this shit. Like, I'm so sick of being told that I'm not allowed to defend myself and my community. I'm so sick of being told, like, ooh, we need to be the bigger people. We need to go, when they go low, we go high. No, bitch, when they go low, we go lower, okay? Grow a fucking brain. Like, do you honestly think that anything is going to change if we don't start, like, losing our fucking mind? Like, don't you want to just go ape shit? Yeah, at this point, I kind of want to just go ape shit. Literally, if cops just focused on being first responders instead of a fucking occupying army. Yeah, it's an occupying army. At some point when they go low, we go high becomes playing with one arm behind your back. Yeah, we're kneecapping ourselves for no particular reason. When we can historically look and see that taking the high road is demonstrably not effective. The literal only time that minorities effectively get change to happen is when they are willing to actually break shit, get the bricks out. Violence in the name of self-defense is common sense. Malcolm X, man. So we're here now. We're here now on the precipice of major violence. I have been saying for a while that it is only a matter of time before we have one of these issues, you know, one of these drag story times where Proud Boys and other violent groups show up with their guns, and there's a John Brown gun club who show up to protect it, and someone's gonna shoot someone, or someone's gun is gonna go off by mistake, or there's gonna be a loud bang nearby, and someone's going to assume that that's a gunfire, and there's gonna be like a shootout between pro-trans and anti-trans groups. And we are seeing the lead up into that. This is the lead up into that. We are seeing the violence start now. And this time it was a brawl. This time it was only a brawl. But it's on a path of escalation, and I don't think that that's realistically going to pause at this point. I mean, this is how it's going to play out. The cops are not going to do enough to stop the violence, and then they're going to escort away the pro-LGBT protesters, and they're going to allow the right-wing agitators to continue to menace the school board. They're going to specifically set up shop to allow these people to menace the school boards. That's what they're gonna do. It's a powder keg. Yeah, I mean, it's a powder keg. It's gonna blow up very soon. Nice to see the same people who 10 years ago told me to be nonviolent are now ready to take up arms. It's about time. Truly, if you're still like, oh, we need to do things peacefully. Like, grow up. Grow up. Grow up. Grow up. I'm sorry. The first Pride was a riot. Everybody keeps saying it. The school board still voted to have Pride Month. All of the drama did not intimidate them. I mean, that's good. And we have to keep doing that. I keep saying this about the bomb threats. We've had the bomb threats toward Boston Children's Hospital and towards Targets now. We need to keep doing exactly as much gay shit as we are currently doing. Because if we cow to threats, then they know that they can just threaten us and they don't actually have to follow through. You have to make them follow through. You can't just say, oh my God, they threatened us. We're just gonna stop this event because we don't have enough private security to handle this. Taking away our human rights isn't peaceful. Why should we be? Exactly. We need to do more. Baphomet is saying we need to do more. Yeah, we can't just stay at the current level of gayness. We need to escalate it. We gotta keep ramping it up. We gotta keep it rolling. I was born into a queerphobic world and I want to leave one where everyone is queer. Yes. Every single person has to be queer. It's legally required. They're literally training Nazis to use cars because in some states they've passed laws since 2020 protecting using a car to, quote, leave a protest even if you run protesters over when you do. I was wondering how they were gonna manage to make that legal. I knew that they were doing, like, that they were trying to pass laws to make it legal to hit someone with your car in a protest. Like, oh, if they're obstructing the road, then basically you pressing through the crowd with your car is legal, but there's no, obviously there's no like restrictions on speed. So if you hit and kill a protester on your way, quote, out of or quote through a protest, then that's legally protected. Yeah, Republicans put forth legislation that seeks to protect drivers who hit protesters. Did any of this actually pass? Oh, in Oklahoma, they passed it. Oklahoma passes a law that can protect drivers who run over protesters. Yep, it grants immunity to drivers who unintentionally, quote, unintentionally injure or kill protesters while attempting to flee, and which stiffens penalties for demonstrators who block public roadways. Yeah, the whole point of a protest is that it's supposed to hurt the economy. Yeah, unintentionally. I promised it was unintentional, officer. Unintentionally killing a protester. Like, how about you don't drive through a crowd of people? Like, if you drive through a crowd of people, then you are accepting a risk that you're gonna kill people. And so you're kind of going into it with intention. Knowledge that you could kill, I think, is equivalent to intention to potentially kill. Like, willingness to kill, for sure. Oh, there were a bunch of people. I was scared. I panicked and I hit the gas. Like, that's the whole thing. It's like trans panic defense, basically. It's protest panic defense. I'm in a 2,000-pound armored vehicle, basically. Like, compared to all these fleshy bodies around me, I'm in an armored vehicle. I'm so scared. I am so scared. You don't have a right to protest, and the Nazis do have a right to infringe on your civil liberties to gather and to speech. What are you gonna do about it? Happy Pride from myself and my patrons, especially want to shout out Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Amanda B, Danielle McDonald, Sarah A, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Robin Olson, Michelle Winter, Athiette, Wellington Marcus, Jamie Jam, Desi Quiche, Suzanne Maynard, Nova, Kevin Young, Sojo, Elizabeth Bartell, and Mr. Atheist.